Good morning. Myself, Akilapriyadharshini from the Department of Civil Engineering, VSB Engineering College, Karur. And today we are going to see about the fourth unit of Human Values and Ethics, Gender Bias and Issues. In this unit, we will see about the gender bias and the issues that will arise for the gender, sex discrimination, and the control of gender bias and the issues. Gender bias and issues are the prevalent in societies worldwide and encompasses various formations of discrimination and inequality based on gender identity. Where the gender bias issues are commonly manifested by using economic disparities, where the women often face a wage gaps and the occupational segregation and the limited access to the economic opportunities when compared to women. This lack of unequal pay of equal work is compensated by the role of gender bias and the education, where the disparities in education still exist, with girls in some religions facing barrier or limited access to schooling, and gender bias where the boys' education is higher than over girls. And next one is healthcare, where the medical research and the misdiagnosis are under limited access to the reproductive healthcare service, including contraception and abortion, and the violation against women. It is including the domestic violence, sexual assault, and the trafficking, and remains a significant issue globally. And then fifth one will be the political representation, where the women continue to be underrepresented in political leadership roles, both globally and domestically. And media representation, gender bias in media and portrayal as harmful stereotype and the unrealistic standards for both men and women. And the legal rights still exist in laws and policies affecting issues such as property rights and inheritance laws, access to the men's for survivors of gender biased violence. And types of gender bias are stereotypes, unconscious bias, and gender discrimination. Stereotypes is attributing the behavior or abilities to a person based solely on their gender. Unconscious bias, it implicit bias that we may not even be aware of influencing, and unconscious bias where it implicit the bias that we may not aware of and influencing our thought and behavior towards the different genders. And gender discrimination is treating someone differently or denying them opportunities based on the unequal pay, limited career, and the advancement of women. And examples of gender bias issues is workplace, the gender pay gap, and the underrepresentation of women in leadership, and then the education, the gender stereotypes can discourage girls from the pursuing the certain fields of study or limited access to the educational opportunities. And then media, the portrayal of women in media can often be a prospective stereotypes and the objectification. And healthcare, women may experience some medical professionals and the medical professionals and the lack of awareness of specific health issues. And the consequence of gender bias is limited opportunities, where the individuals are perceiving full potential due to bias and the unequal access to resources, the psychological impact, and the societal cost, where the gender inequality hinders growth and social progress. Combating gender bias is rising awareness, where it educates the public, and promoting open discussion about the gender bias is crucial. And the policy changes, implementing policies that promote equal parental leave and anti-discrimination measures that can help a more level playing fields. And then workplace initiatives, and giving the unconscious bias training and create a culture of inclusion and respect. And individual action is challenging our own behavior and promoting gender equality in our daily internship that can make a difference. Additional considerations are positive masculinity, empowering women, and empowering women is supporting girls' education and leadership development is essential for creating a more equality future. Gender bias issue in the 12th century in the Insights of Harari. The future of works and gender roles, it disproportionately affect the woman if certain sectors currently dominated by female workers become automated. The rise of AI and the unconscious bias can perpetuate the gender bias if trained data that reflect the existing social inequalities. And then beyond Harari, some additional points we have to consider the impact of technology on gender stereotypes and the role of education in dismantling bias and the importance of policy and legislation. While moving forward to the future trends that automatically creates the new opportunities for the woman and technology is developed and useful for the responsible globalization and shared equality and gender violence. Well, gender violence is also known as the gender-based violation, that various forms of violations are directed at the individuals based on their gender. It refers to any acts that results in physical, sexual, and psychological or economical harm or suffering to the individual based on their gender. It can also take the various forms of sexual harassment, sexual assault, unforced marriage, and honor killing and female genital killing and types of gender violence or domestic violence, sexual violence, honor killing, forced marriage, female genital mutilation, and trafficking. And then root causes of this gender bias are gender inequality, patriarchy, cultural and social norms, lack of legal protection and enforcement. And with these causes, the impact of physical, psychological, and social and economic. And then the prevention and response of gender bias are legal reforms, awareness and education, support services, community engagement, and empowerment. And who is most affected? The women and the girls are the most affected, and the boys can also be the victims. And those living in properties and belonging in the minor community or the disabled of the major affected of girls and addressing the gender violence where the prevention and the support services and the law enforcement and community engagement is there. In the prevention, the education programs that promote the healthy relationships, gender inequality and the interpretations are crucial. And support services are providing safe shelters, medical care, and the counseling for victims is highly essential. And the lack of law enforcement against the gender violence and the effective law enforcement to hold the perpetrator accountable, and the community engagement, raising awareness and communities changing the social norms. The role of men and boys is breaking the silence and challenging the stereotypes and promoting the respectful relationships. And the international efforts are to the protect the gender bias is including the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. And while coming to the conclusion of gender violence is devastating a constitution by raising the awareness and promoting the prevention, the support victims and challenging the root cause of gender inequality can be avoided. We can work towards a whole world free from the gender violence. And the insights from lessons from the 20th century, it's not directly address the gender violence. It provides a broader societal trends that can indirect insuits into the influence by the gender violence. And how we can approach this? We can approach this with the nationalism and populism and the impact of war and conflict and uh, and moving forward to the broader things and the social divisions and the technology is harassed for a good. And social discrimination is referred to the unfair treatment of against ethnicity, race, gender, sexuality, religion, age, and disability of socio-economic status or political beliefs. And formation of this social discrimination includes the racial discrimination, gender and sexual orientation discrimination, and the religious discrimination. And the age discrimination is comes under this one, and the disability discrimination and socio-economic and the political discrimination. The causes of social discrimination are prejudice and the stereotypes, structural inequality, cultural norms and values, and the historical factors. And with these factors we consider for social discrimination, we have some impact. That means the individual impact, social cohesion, economic consequence, health disparities, and the human rights violation. Addressing the social discrimination is done by legislation and policies, education and awareness, empowerment and representation, community and engagement, and the intersectional approaches, and promoting diversity and inclusions and the anti-discrimination laws. With this unit, we can understand the social discrimination and the gender bias condition of both racism and sexism. Recognizing the intersections is crucial for developing effective solutions.